here, I'll find the music stand, but my friend Matt is about to give his testimony. He's also the lead singer in the hot band CR that you can hear every Tuesday night. So, I'd like to welcome up my friend Matt.
God did that too. Hey, I was born in Milwaukee, Oregon, by Portland, and grew up with my father, mother, and my brother, who was 6 years older. My father struggled to find work in Oregon and during the late 70s and ended up looking for work in California. So when I was 7, we all moved down to Milpitas, where he found work. 3 years later, we moved to Modesto, and he commuted back and forth Sunnyvale every day. My father was raised by his alcoholic father and gambler, and although he never drank, he was a dry drunk with all the behaviors of an alcoholic. When I was 10 years old, my uncle informed me that drinking a beer on a hot day was thirst quenching and offered me my first drink. I remember that taste and chased that first taste of a beer the rest of my life. Growing up in the house of the Hallams was a walk on eggshells. My father was a yeller and very controlling. He had a great heart and loved his family, but he struggled with anger and control. My brother seemed to be in trouble with the schools and just with authority in general. My father and him would have some knockdown and dragouts, and my father was a yeller, and when fighting with my mom, would raise his voice. And everyone would be put on edge and in this type of fear. I was the child that tried to do the right thing, so everyone would get along. I just wanted to keep the peace. But little did I realize it was a lot of weight to carry in a family. I struggled with being alone, being abandoned, and depression and anxiety. And in junior high, I was asked to go to First Baptist Church, which is now Cross Point, downtown Modesto. I went with my friend, and I found the girls were pretty cute there, so I thought I'd keep going. And it was also a way to get away from the chaos in the house. It was there that I accepted Christ into my life and got baptized. Thank you. I didn't grow up in a Christian home, but they weren't exactly against it, and they very much approved it and would always take me to church. I was extremely involved with the youth group and went on all the camps and choir tours. When I was a freshman in high school, I was involved with the Way Singers, and we would sing for the Marines in San Diego and Oceanside. I remember us singing for the Marines inside a chapel in Camp Pendleton. And as a youngster in high school, I thought it was pretty amazing. They would sing the Marine Corps hymn back to us. And man, that was pretty powerful, right? We did it again in my sophomore year, went to a choir tour. But shortly after that, I would begin my falling away from the Lord. I remember one of my youth leaders, Dan Howard, love you, taking me home and talking to me about he could see me falling away. He could see me stepping away from the Lord. I remember him saying that I needed to decide. And he explained how crucial this decision was. And I didn't listen to him. I was like, I'll be fine. In Proverbs 3, verse 5 through 6, it says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your paths straight." Problem was, I wasn't leaning on God. I was leaning on myself, and that led me straight into destruction. When I drank, I felt my anxiety and depression be lifted off of me. I felt on top of the world. My high school years were filled with music, some theater, baseball, wrestling, and a whole bunch of partying. I tried almost every drug, and I was experimenting with anything that would alter my mind and help me escape loneliness and depression. I finished high school, and guess where I went? I went right into the Marine Corps. The Marines was a wild and crazy time in my life, but it has to be one of the most memorable times. It was honorable, it was accomplishing, and where my drinking really progressed. There were many times I blacked out, got into fights, and found myself passed out, not knowing what happened the night before. I met some great men in the Marines that I call my brothers today, and I will the rest of my life. I spent a year overseas in Okinawa, Japan, and they say you would either become a gym rat, a bookworm, or an alcoholic. I signed up to be an alcoholic because I knew how to do that. I came back from Okinawa. I hooked up with who would be my first wife, and we knew each other since First Baptist Church, but we were not living for the Lord. I ended up moving her out to my next duty station, which was Cherry Point, North Carolina. My firstborn son was born. I don't know why, but this happens every time. My firstborn son was born at Cherry Point, North Carolina. He was born on base. I got out of the Marines in 1998 and moved back to Turlock and later Modesto. We also had my firstborn daughter in 2000, and I was working as a manager for Union Pacific. Bought a home in Modesto and had cars paid off in the driveway. It was like the American dream, but my drinking progressed, and we were falling apart. I ended up having an affair on my first wife and with the girl I ran away with in high school. This would begin my downward spiral, where I not only lost my mind, but I lost my soul. I went through a divorce, and I lost my home. I got a DUI, I lost my car. I later lost my job, and eventually have the children taken away from me. I was in a toxic relationship, and my drinking was out of control. Union Pacific sent me to a rehab and gave me a chance, but I blew that later when they tested me at noon on New Year's Day, 2009, and I still blew a .06. They let me go, and my life had been thrown into shambles. I was making decisions based on my hatred towards the world. It was everyone else. It was not me. It was my situation, not me. It was my girlfriend, not me. I lost my job and didn't work for a whole year. All I did was drink all day and all night for a year. I would move every couple months because my girlfriend and I were so toxic together and would fight all the time. I was in and out of jail for DUI, failure to appear, and even domestic violence. We would later get married and have 2 children of our own. It was such a mess, though. Her father suggested we come out to Georgia and live. Yes, hey, this would be the fix-all. We could move out there, and her family would help us, and everything would be much better. But the old saying, everywhere you go, there you are. And we carried all those issues out to Georgia, and 3 months later, I was back to drinking all the time. Romans 7:18, for I know that good itself does not dwell in me, that is my sinful nature. For I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. I couldn't carry it out. I couldn't fix myself. I was stuck in addiction, my pride, my anger, and a whole lot of shame. I was soon kicked out of the house and back on my own. I walked away from that area and used people to get back to California. During my trip back to California, a lady told me I would stay with her and I could stay with her in North Carolina. I figured, hey, that would work because my children were in Georgia, so I could see them still. I was still drinking and not healthy. I was able to catch a flight out to North Carolina and stayed with this woman. I stopped drinking, got a job, bought a car, and was working out, getting healthy. Every time I walked out of the gym, though, I would look at that liquor store next door, thinking, man, it'd be nice to have a bottle right now. It didn't take long for that thought to turn into action, and I grabbed a bottle. I picked up right where I left off, and that lady that I was living with kicked me out of her house I found a room to rent and ended up staying there one night before getting a DUI and totaling my car. That was my second DUI in a month. And I was barely hanging on to my job. And a guy and his wife let me stay at their house until I healed up and got better. I did not stop drinking. However, and made some horrible decisions in the process. I ended up having an affair with his wife and moving out to an apartment with her. I still believe to this day God had a plan, even in this insane behavior. Because it led me to full surrender. After losing my job and barely scraping by in an apartment, I had enough of living this way. I was in the deepest and darkest time in my life where I did not care if I lived or died. I wanted to give up and drink myself to death. I didn't know what day or time it was. I couldn't function unless I had alcohol in my system. I didn't eat or drink anything nourishing, and I was slowly killing myself. I would wake up from passing out, usually about a 4-hour span, and reach for a beer. But I could not bring that beer to my mouth unless I used 2 hands because I was shaking so bad. I was on a list for a bed at a detox center because in the past, I couldn't come off of alcohol without meds. I had 2 seizures, I had hallucinations, and it wasn't safe to do it alone. It had been 3 weeks that I was waiting. But I stumbled to the backyard and got on my knees and begged the Lord to save me. This happened. This happened to me. This is the most pivotal point in my life. The most pivotal point right here. This is where it all changed. I knew he had been there all along, but I was never at the point of complete surrender. I asked God to remove my desire to drink. I told God I didn't know how to quit drinking, and I needed him to save me from my self-destruction. I told God I had nothing else to offer him but my heart. I told him that he saved me. I told him that if he saved me from alcohol, I would live for him and serve him the rest of my days. 2 Corinthians 12:9, but he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. I had a feeling of peace flood my spirit, and it felt like the first time I accepted Christ into my life. It was a spiritual awakening, and I just remember sleeping the rest of the night that night. When I woke up the next morning, the detox center that I was waiting on a bed for called to inform me that that bed is opened. That's God. I went that day and I detoxed off alcohol. I found a church, started going to Celebrate Recovery, a faithful recovery program, and I started serving at the church to help with setup and tear down. I also started doing lights, and I built new healthy relationships. But 28 days sober, the world was beginning to be too much for me. And I wasn't used to it. So I went to the store and bought 4 40-ounce beers. I wanted to give up. I wanted to go back to the way I knew how to live before. But the woman I was with told me she would leave if I started drinking again. And it was that moment I realized how much I hated alcohol. Every time it was involved, I would lose something that was good. I ended up pouring that beer down the sink and said out loud, I hate you. Poured it. I hate you. I hate you. Over and over again. My life had changed, and I started to feel healthy. My mind was clearing up, and my priorities were shaping into what God wanted for me. I released control and allowed God to lead me in the direction he wanted me to go. I know my way would lead to destruction, and this way was a lot better. I started to feel like that kid in junior high and high school that was witnessing and living for Christ. It was a childlike heart that began to form. I went from a hard heart and mad at the world to a softened heart, living a life of peace and joy. I began to understand the disease more and how I came to this actual moment in my life. It was time for a major overhaul, and I was all in. My priorities began to shift. I felt God start to pull me back to Modesto to be with my children. I worked my butt off, went to CR here at Big Valley Grace, CR at New Life in Turlock, and I started serving at Big Valley Grace as a sound technician. I was seeing my children every Sunday, then later every other weekend. I was building relationships, and God had his hand in it all. I served as a sound tech for a year at Big Valley Grace, and I finally felt the pull to try out for worship. I had been playing music my whole life, but never at that capacity. The Lord prepared me by being poured into by a worship leader in North Carolina, Quentin, and doing sound at Big Valley Grace and playing open mics on the side. God had a plan. I auditioned for worship, and he started me out playing acoustic for CR, and my confidence was smashed in my addiction, and I didn't feel worthy. The first time I was able to sing and play guitar for worship, I seen my life flash before my eyes. I heard God say gently, "This is why you were born into a music family. This is why you were in madrigals and theater. This is why you were at First Baptist Church being served, being saved and baptized. This is why you went through a deep, dark struggle with alcohol and 2 divorces and DUIs. And this is why you survived those crashes and many, many crazy nights of drinking." I had finally reached my purpose. Chad Pippin, that's a worship leader here, came to ask me, he said, "How'd it go?" I said, "Man, this is exactly where God wants me. This is it." I asked thank you. I asked a great worship leader here at Big Valley how I can lead a congregation in worship after all the things that I've done and in the life that I lived. And he told me I was able to lead from a place not a lot of people have been. And I can lead people with hope by the grace and mercy God has given me. Those 2 guys are another example of those key roles in my recovery. And speaking of key roles, I was single a good 5 years along the way, but I was intent on remarrying when God said it was time and with who God said it was going to be. And I was no longer using my picker. And then she came across my TikTok like a thief in the night. Stole my heart. And I said, "God, is this the one? Is this the one?" She was inspirational, a woman of God, prayer warrior. A mother to 4 beautiful children, and she was a great communicator. I was never a pursuer, but I felt God saying pursue, and so I did. She was telling herself that the man was going to have to pursue her at that time, so it worked out. And God had it all worked out. I came to her on Facebook Messenger after stalking her for a while and said, "Hey, how was church?" Guys, don't use that one. I don't even know why I said that, but it worked. But I was like, what? She came to my life at a perfect time. I was beginning to doubt God for a while there, because every time I was like, "God, not that one either." Okay, all right. But she is the one that will be able to keep up with the worship leaders. It was love at first sight, and it feels like we've been together forever in a good way. God has truly blessed us with each other, and we are super grateful for each other. Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord. Plans to prosper you and not to harm you. Plans to give you a hope and a future." God's plans were always better than mine, even when I couldn't see it. My father passed away from cancer in 2011. My mom lives with us. My older kids and I are so much closer. My younger kids are with me 50% of the time and have a great relationship. Although blending can be difficult, they are all really good kids, and I love them all. I work full-time on the night shift as a dispatcher for Northern Refrigerated Transportation, lead Celebrate Recovery worship on Tuesday nights. I'm a worship leader at Centenary Church in Modesto. Yeah. And where I lead a team on Sunday mornings and share music with others doing gigs locally about 4 to 7 times a month. My wife and I lead the First Timers group once a month and truly look forward to it. We each give a quick testimony of how God has helped deliver us, and I believe it gives them hope. We don't come in here on a winning streak, and to see these people come in with courage and willingness to change is such a beautiful moment. I need that in my recovery because I need to be reminded of when I walked in the doors for the first time. It helps keep me humble. There's no way I can come up with everyone that played a part in my recovery, so I will just say thank you to my North Carolina family, my Big Valley family, my Northern Refrigerated Transportation family, my Forever family, and my family. Thank you to my sponsors, Jeff Bozier from the beginning and David Gonzalez now. You guys are with me and have been with me in the trenches. I would also like to stress that my accountability partners in my Bro Recovery group have played a major role in my recovery. These guys are dependable and we pour into each other every other week. Thank you, Josiah, Sam, Josh, and Adam for being that phone call away and for meeting up every other week. I'm grateful for my step study group that I went through. All those gentlemen, I'm super grateful for them. The step study and going through the steps with my sponsor was absolutely another turning point in my recovery and where healing began. It's a whole different way of thinking and interpreting this life, this new life. It works if you work it, and I'm grateful for my Forever family. We are all in this together, and I am grateful to have you all as part of it. To the first timer, you are going to be okay. It is a journey like no other, but it is not a race. Don't rush through it and allow God to change your life on His timing, not your own. I love and appreciate you all and can't wait to see the changes ahead. God bless you all. Thank you for letting me share. Thanks, man. Appreciate you.
All right, one more time. Give it up for Matt, please.